Hi, welcome everyone. We're getting started a minute early or so to give people a chance to come on in and introduce themselves. So if you're here, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know maybe where you're calling in from. And yeah, just say hi. You can even do the emojis down at the bottom if you want to pop some emojis up to let us know you're here. That'd be great. So it's 8:30. Oh, awesome. Good to see some people this early. Well, early for some, depends on where you're at. We have people coming in who've registered from around the world. So it'll be interesting to see where everybody is coming in from. Okay, all right. See, we have some UK people, Texas.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome. Okay, well, I know people wander in nobody's ever on time. Not everybody's always on time. So we're
I
just
know I'm
gonna
not.
I know, I'm kind of lucky I'm here right now. But we'll go ahead and get started because there will be a replay, so people will be able to see it from the beginning. So first, hi, I'm Lisa Shaughnessy, host of the Writing Retreat Sampler, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 1. This is going to be a great episode with Daniel Waldman of Elixir Retreats. So Daniel, thanks so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're going to hit the slides here. Bring those up as they make their way. So before we get started, I'll go over a few housekeeping items. Looks like everybody's found the chat box, which is great. So that's the one, if you're not sure, that's the one with the 2 speech bubbles up at the top right. And it'll be open during the presentation. We won't stop to answer questions, but feel free to put them in so you don't forget later. And we'll also use the Q&A function at the end of the presentation to ask questions. The Q&A can make it a little easier to sort the questions. So, obviously we'll look at either one, but afterwards we'll open the Q&A. And that is the 2 bubbles with the Q and the A just below the chat box. So when we're ready for that, then you can just head over there and we'll answer any questions you have. We have one sponsor this time. Actually, it's the Writing Retreat Directory, which is something I've recently launched. And at the end of this session, we'll let you know how to check out that sponsor booth. All right. So before we get to the rest of the presentation, though, we'd like to do a quick poll to get some information from people who are here. So I think Jordan was going to bring up the poll. There we go. So where is your dream place to write? We'll give everybody a second to answer if you're here live with us.
Can I vote too?
I was just about to say, but Daniel, tell us where your favorite place is. I think I can.
Oh gosh, honestly, I hope write this. All 4 of these choices are ideal to me. Probably top on my list is a beach. I'm a beach bum when it comes down to it. I live 45 minutes from an absolutely stunning beach that I just absolutely love and go there as often as possible. And I often will bring a notebook to write or even just do some sketching or some colored pencils and whatnot. It's very peaceful. It's a non-developed beach, big cliffs, big sandstone cliffs.
Oh.
It's really quite a stunning place. So I probably would say on the beach. I'm going to vote on the beach for me.
I would too. In fact, this past Christmas, New Year's, we went to Jamaica. We went to, but not the touristy part. We went to 7 Mile Beach, which is, pretty much off the beaten path. And I got so much, I wasn't planning to write, it was just so inspiring. I got so much writing done. It was so calm, peaceful, very few people around. And I ended up writing a lot more than I was expecting. I came back with so full of ideas. So I'm with you. The beach, the waves, just listening to that.
The sea breeze,
Yeah.
The wildlife,
Exactly.
that kind of thing.
Okay, so what do we have? We have, okay, on the beach. Sorry, I love it.
That's me. That was me.
Oh, shoot, it's two votes. Okay, well, I didn't vote, but maybe somebody else did. I'm going to head back over to the chat so I can see if anybody did. Okay, so let's take that off the stage then, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do we need to know about Daniel Waldman?
Sure. So I'm a freelance business writer and retreat producer. I have been doing freelance business writing for the last 7 years or so. And I just recently, in the last, basically since 2019, have been working on Elixir Writing Retreats.
Okay. And real quick, what made you decide to do these? I'm just so interested when people decide to do writing retreats. Like, what made you decide this?
Yeah, well, it was almost an accident. I moved to France in 2016 with my family to be closer to my wife's side of the family, and we used to live in Baltimore. And back in 2019, I was kind of missing some friends, and I was thinking of a good friend of mine who was also she's also a freelance editor and a writing instructor. Um, I've actually met her by attending one of her workshop that she had put on, a 6 week workshop she had put on in Baltimore. And one night I was drinking a little wine, having a good time. Just said, I'm going to call my friend Kate, say hi. We were just talking, and it just kind of we just said, how cool would it be to go write in a castle, and that was kind of the start of it. And we were like, well, why can't we do that? So we started working on Elixir at that moment, just like everybody, the pandemic pushed us back, our progress back by a couple of years. We actually had to postpone the first Elixir twice. The first time for travel restrictions, and the second time we were just concerned about not enough people being vaccinated. So, and there was also all kinds of in the U.S. I don't remember what kind of restrictions there were, but in France there were a lot of things you couldn't do without having proof that you were vaccinated.
Oh.
So we ended up pushing it off until June of 2022, when it was supposed to take place in June 2020.
Oh, well, we're glad that you stuck with it and that you kept going, because this one I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll get into the details, but what do you see as the overarching qualities of your retreat?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we found was, at least in the first retreat, it was a combination of essentially three things. One was having a marquee, top level, best selling author as a guest lecturer. We had Jennifer Niven. For those who might not be familiar with her, Jennifer has written, I believe, 11 books, maybe more. She's a New York Times bestseller. Her One of her most well-known novels is All the Bright Places, and that was actually picked up by Netflix and turned into a Netflix movie. Um, and so that was one ingredient, I think. The second ingredient was just holding it in a really inspiring location. I've been to writing events before, and they were very much like conferences. They were in these, kind of stodgy hotel ballroom type places, or something like that, or death by PowerPoint, those kind of things. Not that I have anything against PowerPoint, but for a
Right, but
writing retreat,
for a writing retreat, you want something like more engaging and
right? And so
participatory. Yeah.
and we found we were doing some research, and we found kind of retreats were kind of falling into two different sort of spectrums. They were either more like conference like, like I just described, or they might have been in a really unique place, but there wasn't like any instruction, there wasn't any community. It's just, here's a room at a farmhouse in rural France or something like that, or here's a tiny house on a wherever, and that's it. And there didn't seem to be a lot of value in each. So we felt combining those two things, and then third, of course, the third ingredient is just the community itself, and just having a community of writers to bounce ideas off of, work through problems, share stories, get feedback, that kind of thing. So those three things I think is what really makes Elixir Writing Retreats valuable and different from what other retreats are providing. We also, of course, have really fun, try to do some fun activities in the evenings as well. So, last time we did, well, not just fun activities, but also cultural excursions. So last time we had like a wine tasting, we did a game night, we did a cheese tasting. So in France, you're gonna have wine, you're gonna have cheese. We had a friend of mine is a French teacher. She's an American, another American who lives here. She came out and gave like a fun French lesson. That was a lot of fun. So doing that, and then we also had a day trip to Mont Saint Michel, which is, as you may or may not know, it's a huge abbey that's built on this sort of little tiny island. Back in the day, they built a road now; you can access it any time of day. But back in the day, it used to be that if you were on the island and the tide came up, you'd be stuck there.
Oh,
But it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's just an absolutely breathtaking place. It's touristy, sure, but it's also really really fascinating.
oh,
So
very cool.
incorporating all these things, I think, is really what makes Elixir Elixir.
Yeah. And that's what I love about every retreat. It's different. People say, "Oh, well, a retreat's a retreat, retreat." Well, it's not, because every writing retreat is just so unique, to what people bring to it, and the
Sure.
place, and the people. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
And
Um,
we're trying to make every Elixir writing retreat unique in and of itself as well. So, we're although we're still young, we're trying not to, do repeat locations, for example. We don't want to go back to the same places each time. Um, we want to explore. I mean, it's a big world, and there's a lot to see and do. So I feel like, there's a lot of places that personally I would love to go and write in, and I'm sure other people do as well.
right. Nice. We've kind of touched on a few reasons why to go to a retreat when you were talking about Elixir. And I know that they're an amazing way to help writers reach their goals. But what would you tell somebody who asked why they should attend one?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have our tagline right up there. It's really about taking time to feed your writing. And what does that mean exactly? I think I've thought a lot about what feeding your writing means. To me, uh, it's well. Let me just back up and say, probably we're living in a very a time that is just so much unknown and so much uncertainty. And I think a lot of people it's easy to get bogged down in sort of the news headlines, or the stresses of everyday life, having to pay, your bills, or, spend time with your family, take care of your kids, do your job, all those things. And um, I know as a writer myself, it can be really hard to carve out not just time in the day to go write, but to be able to get into that mindset, the creative mindset. And that's a challenge, I think, that many writers who have other responsibilities in their life, or other things going on in their life, have to deal with. So to me, the main reason that you would want to come to a writing retreat is to really carve out that time and be in an environment that's supportive and engaging and stimulating, that can help you really block out everything you need to and focus on working on creating your work.
Yeah, I know that it takes me a good 20 minutes, half hour to, like you said, get into the creative mindset. Um, and then by the time you're in it, it's like, oh,
I gotta go pick
laundry
up the kids
bell's
from
gone off.
daycare. Yeah, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
sure.
man, I got into
Yeah,
it.
yep.
Yeah,
I mean, I write professionally. People. I do business writing professionally, but I also do creative writing for myself. And I just think, like, after a day of writing for other people, I don't want to write for myself. Like, I just don't have the mental energy.
right. So I like this one. Engage in meaningful craft conversations with fellow writers. What can you tell us more about that? Like when people come to your retreat or any writing retreat that you've been on, how does that help the writers, do you think?
Well, writing is such an isolating it's an isolated art form, right? When we create writing, when we write, we're by ourselves. We're in our heads, and that's fine. Or even when we're reading, it's a conversation between us and the author, but it's still isolate. You're not in the same room with the person. You're not able to ask questions. So to me, being able to just kind of talk with other writers is just an invaluable experience in a sort of and I go back to the environment. You're in an environment where you're being stimulated on an intellectual level and in potentially in a physical way. For example, lots of our writers when I think in France would several of our writers would go for a walk in the morning through the woods that were nearby on the property of the castle where we were staying. And for them that was like a great way to like just clear their mind. And then but they sometimes go singly or with other people and just they would just chat. It was very informal, but I think most people walked away from those conversations as feeling just engaged in what they're doing, and dialed in.
Yeah, and it can be nice to talk with other people going through the same thing you are.
Exactly. Yeah,
We're at
there's a
home
great
and yeah.
yeah. There's something to be said for sure about having a shared experience too.
Yeah.
I think also just having a shared experience, even if you're not talking. Quite honestly, we're talking about having meaningful craft conversations, but like just sitting in a room, uh, with some other people, and everybody's kind of tapping away on their computers, on their laptops, or whatever, can be can be stimulating in itself.
Yeah, yeah. And I like the different locations because like you said, just going through a walk in the woods or somewhere else, that can, spark maybe ideas for your story or character ideas or,
Yeah,
just being out of your own environment. It's like people watching, right? Go to a train
sure.
station or something or sit by a cafe somewhere new. And it's just your mind just starts wandering into all these potential, you know, ideas for your stories. So yeah,
Absolutely. I think change of scenery is a huge stimulus. It's a
yes.
it can really drive, not drive. I don't want to say drive, but it can really activate your brain in new ways and help you
Yeah.
kind of see the world in new ways and experience new things, and that can translate into your writing as you develop characters or scenery. A great example is one of the people who participated in Elixir France, our first retreat. Um, she found this quiet, cozy little nook when we went to Mont Saint Michel. She was working on I can't remember exactly what she was working on, but it had a fantasy aspect to it, if I recall correctly. And so she was getting all kinds of like ideas just from walking around Mont Saint Michel for her setting and things like that. That she was doing sketches, she was taking all kinds of notes. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Well, let's segue into Elixir Retreats now. I'd like to hear more about that. So, what are we looking at here?
yeah, so these were just a couple of shots from our first retreat. So in the middle, that's the property that we stayed on.
Oh,
It was I can't remember how big it was, but it was a big property. It was a 18th century castle. We stayed mostly in the big building there, sort of the main building there. It was gorgeous, 3 floors. The kitchen was modernized. All the bathrooms were modernized, but the rest of the rooms, it was like being in a fairy tale for the most part. It's a grand piano. It was just such a cool place, and they even had you can't really see it in this picture, but all the way on the left of the center picture with the sort of lower um, roof is actually there was actually a pool there.
oh,
So it was great because it was summertime and there was a horrible heat wave going through France at the time. And I mean, we're talking like it was 100-degree days.
wow.
The castle does not have air conditioning. 18th century castles tend not to do, but it actually, because it's made of stone, it actually stayed very cool. So what we would do is we close the windows in the front uh, during the day, and then you could open them at night and let the evening let some cool air in. And all this area around was wooded, so like I said, people would go for walks in the woods and whatnot. On the left picture, that's one of the examples of people engaging in conversation. We had our presenters each day would present a topic and discuss a topic, usually for an hour and a half or so. Usually, well, their presentation or discussion was usually start be about 30 to 45 minutes. But then, as conversations happened to go, they just kind of rambled on, and people were just honestly, I was actually surprised. A lot of times, when sessions like that are over, everybody kind of like bolts for the door. But a lot of times, people just kind of stuck around and continued the conversation. It's really cool. And then the picture on the right is just one of our attendees, Scott Tracy, great guy, really fun writer. He found this nook. This is sort of like on an outside area, covered outside area that he would sit in every morning and do writing. And just he really just kind of latched onto that spot. He got very comfortable, and it was great. He by the end he was just saying how much he had gotten done because of that. How much writing he had gotten done.
Yeah,
And
sounds
the
like
castle
heaven.
was like just filled with like all these really cool little nooks and crannies. I'm kind of like that kind of person that like when I write, like I want to sit in like a comfy chair and stuff. And so there was all kinds of like neat little nooks and crannies where people kind of hide out almost and
Oh,
write.
nice. Okay, so looks like we have more pictures from that retreat then. Is that correct?
Yeah, these are just some more pictures from the retreat. So just top left, we have, as I said, we had a wine tasting. There's a friend of mine who works in marketing in the wine industry and really knows a lot, really expert. She came in and gave a really nice presentation. Just really, I think what we're really, most of these pictures were taken at Mont Saint Michel at the ice cream, and obviously that's Mont Saint Michel in the background, the bottom left. But really, just really, I think what I wanted to emphasize here is just people just really kind of gelled, and it was really interesting and exciting to kind of see how this group of 12 people, 12 writers, just kind of formed these amazing friendships, and that was something that for me actually was a bit unexpected. I figured people get along, of course, but for people to like just build these friendships, these very powerful and strong bonds, was an exciting thing to watch and
Yeah, and
participate in.
that's what I love about all the writing retreat hosts I've talked to. I think everybody has said people come away with just friendships. Like even people, one woman I was talking to, and she said even the two most opposite people that I would never have pegged to become friends, outside of this, ended up really becoming friends, and even outside, like staying in contact and working with each other writing. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing how it just brings people together.
I was really amazed and grateful, incredibly grateful for Jennifer Niven. Actually, she she actually like maybe like a couple days before the retreat was going to happen, she emailed me and my partner and said, I think I have to back out on some of the obligations. She was coming. She's like, I think I have to back out on some of the social obligations. My publisher moved up a deadline, and I just kind of have to get this work done. I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine. But we were really, I was kind of expecting her, to just kind of do her thing and then kind of, for lack of a better word, retreat. So but she devoted so much time to talking with the participants and just engaging them and really listening to them and talking with them, and it was really a really beautiful thing to watch and to see.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so let's talk about what you have coming up next then. So this
Yeah.
one, we're talking about the Catskills. So first of all, before you talk about when and where, what made you choose the Catskills?
Well, we knew we wanted to do something in the U.S. for one, and we knew we wanted to do something in the fall, um, for a variety of reasons. Some personal, just works out well for my personal schedule. Uh, But also, we just wanted to do something that was a little bit that was different from what we had already done in France. And we looked actually all over New England, and so all the stars aligned for the Catskills, we'll say, between finding a place that we liked that was within our budget, that was big enough to host, a largish group of people or decent sized group of people, and then also something that is a beautiful place. We're going in the height of the fall foliage, so I'm really excited for that. I love the Catskills. I've been there. I only went there once when I was younger. For my It was in the spring for my grandparents' 50th anniversary many years ago. So I'm excited to be there. Just honestly, just for the fall foliage.
Oh yeah, it's so gorgeous. Okay. Oh, so are these the people who are going to be
Exactly.
presenting? All
Yeah,
right,
we've
tell
so
us
we've
more.
got we've got a great lineup of lecturers, guest lecturers. So first of all, our host is George Drage. Um, he was actually a guest lecturer at our first retreat, and he's co-hosting this with me, Elixir Catskills with me. George is a HarperCollins writer. He's working on his second book, I believe. You can see his picture there. His Shad Hadid is his first novel that he published maybe about 2 years ago or so. And then our VIP guest lecturers, Aaron and Trada Kelly, Nobelist, sorry, not Nobel a Newbery medalist. Yeah, I just combined those words into
Yeah, makes it
Nobelist.
easier.
Yeah, a Newbery medalist and a New York Times bestseller, and she's just amazing. If you've ever heard her talk, she's just such a down to earth person, and just really positive, but just also really she'll tell you like it. Tell it, say it like it is, so to speak. And then Adria Getz, a literary agent. I think a lot of times writers, they don't know if they should look for a literary agent. They don't know how to approach a literary agent. They don't know what literary agents even look for, what they do, other than maybe selling their book. They may not know a lot of things. So we wanted to incorporate somebody who could speak to all of that. I think for a lot of writers, it's worth just getting the input from a professional literary agent to get an idea of what they should be working on, what should they focus on, how should they approach it. And Andrea is actually going to be giving us. She's actually doing critiques as well.
Oh,
Um, we've almost sold all of them actually. There's one more open spot, I believe, for her critiques.
okay. Awesome. So let's find out a little bit more about what's going to happen during the Catskills retreat. Is this what you're expecting?
Yeah. One of the reasons we chose Winter Clove Inn and Resort is because it's such a cool place. It really has like a little bit of everything. Their food. At least we haven't eaten there, of course, but you know they have awesome reviews for their food, so that was already like a plus. I'm a real foodie, so that's a huge thing. We're going to do this campfire picture. It's sort of an example. We're going to do campfire, s'mores, and stories one
Oh,
evening. So everybody's going to get a chance to get some yummy s'mores and listen to each other, just tell stories. I wanted it to be ghost stories, but I think just because I love ghost stories, especially outdoors at a campfire. But
okay.
I don't know if that's everybody's going to be interested in that. So we're just leaving a general. Tell a story if you want. You don't have to, but you want to tell a short story, and we'll have some s'mores. And then they also have like an indoor bowling alley, like an old fashioned indoor bowling alley. And so
Oh,
we're going to do a bowling night as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. But they have some other amenities there too. They have an indoor pool, so if people want to go swimming, they can do that. They've got a indoor gym type place, and then on top of that, there's just tons of just trails all over their property and around and adjoining throughout the forest in the surrounding area, and so people can go hiking whenever they want. We're not really doing any organized hikes. Haven't planned any organized hikes. Let me put it this way, but I have the feeling people are just going to get together and say, "Hey, let's go for a walk."
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
that's going to be, yeah. And that's the point of it, right? Just like you said, just naturally coming together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about what's going on, but how about for the writing time and basically how it's going to be structured? How do you see the day structured?
Sure. So we basically have it the days divided into sort of three sections. So the morning is breakfast and writing, dedicated writing time, and that's just general free time. Most people will spend it working on their work or whatever. Um, excuse me. Uh, After lunch, then we have lunch. It's a little bit sort of open, so people can come and go as they want. There's no like you have to eat with everybody all the time. Um, and then after lunch, we'll be doing our lectures in the afternoon. There's going to be two lectures each day. On the final day, and since it's just a half day, we have to check out by I think 11 or 12. So we'll do like a breakfast slash panel at the same time. Um, and then in the after the lectures, there's a little bit more free time, and then usually either right before dinner or after dinner is when we'll be doing our evening activities. So one other activity I forgot to mention is the cider tasting. We partnered with a local cider
Oh,
company. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Catskills area is a huge apple producing region. That's a huge thing, and there's tons of cider makers all over the place. So we partnered with one that's just in the area. They're going to come and give us a tasting of it's both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. So if you're not a drinker, you can still come,
oh,
and it'll
nice.
be great. Yeah.
What's the writer speed dating?
Oh, I'm sorry, I've totally skipped that one.
That one's the one that interested me the most. What is
Yeah,
that?
well, we wanted to do something fun instead of just regular introductions, going around and introducing yourself. So instead of doing that, we're just gonna basically do sort of a speed dating thing where we're gonna have some set questions at each table, and then people will kind of get up and do like a little round robin around and talk to new people and ask each other questions for a few minutes, and then engage in
Oh,
interesting conversation to get to know each other, and then move on to the next person.
oh, I get, I get. Okay, so I always love to read testimonials about the impact of writing retreats for people, and it sounds like you made quite the impact on your France retreats.
Yeah, we were just thrilled with the feedback that we received. To be honest with you, the first time I've done lots of events in my life, worked in marketing for 20 years. I used to work for a trade show, huge trade show, like a 3,000 person trade show, and doing special events for them. That's kind of how I my background in terms of event planning goes. But when you do an event, you never really, or a retreat in this case, you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of you don't know if it's going to work or not sometimes, and I think we uh, somewhat intentionally, but somewhat accidentally, just kind of stumbled onto a bit of a magic formula of what makes a writing retreat a valuable experience. And as you can see, I'm not going to read these, of course, but as you can read these, for example, these three writers just they really got a lot out of the experience. So,
Yeah.
and that honestly, that I think that was just it was so gratifying to me as the producer, to hear such positive feedback.
Right, right. You pour yourself into something and
Yeah,
you want it to go well, and it's nice to know that you achieve that.
I will say every event Elixir, the first Elixir certainly, but I think the ones that we're working on now, they're all to some degree a labor of love. There's always, when you're event planning, there's always kinks to work out. There's hitches, things, obstacles get in your way. Something isn't exactly what you expected it to be, or so, something like that you really want to do. Maybe it's outside your budget, and you got to find a way to find a way to either do that or find something just as interesting. And so, like I said, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen, or how it's going to turn out, or how it's going to be received. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I know you have another one coming up
I
for
do.
next year. So won't spend a whole lot of time on that, but is this open for registration or application? Can people look at this one as well?
Yeah, it's open for application. So actually, it's Elixir Cancun. It's taking place in early February of 2024. Are staying at a really, really cool place. It's a private hacienda on a monkey reserve, monkey sanctuary. Um, yeah, you can see some pictures here. So the bottom left, or sorry, bottom right is a picture of the entrance of the hacienda. The top right is the pool that they have. It looks just so inviting and so amazing. Just surrounded by nature. Um, if you could actually go back just real quick, so I could talk about the speakers, just to introduce them real quick. So first of all, Rocky partnered me with us for that. She's co-hosting that one. She was an attendee at Elixir France, our first retreat, and but she's done her own retreats as well that she's produced, and so it was just a great opportunity to work together with an up and coming writer. She actually just maybe about a month ago or so published an anthology of YA anthology, excuse me, an anthology of YA stories about mental health,
Oh,
and it's really taken off. And then Donna Barba Figuera actually is another Newbery medalist. She won in 2022, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2021. Not sure. And then her Allison Remke is actually her agent as well. So we're having another agent
oh,
along.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so obviously, once people have had this amazing experience and you've just been immersed in your writing and you've just had no chores to do, you get home and you're back to reality. So how do you suggest that people kind of keep up their writing habit or keep up the momentum that they've experienced from a writing retreat?
Yeah, well, first of all, um, it's always great to hear feedback from people. What worked, what didn't work. Sometimes people are not always willing to share their ideas with you face to face, which is fine. So, filling out that post-retreat survey is really, really important for us. Just so, and really, the reason why I say that is it's not just important for us, but it's important for us in terms of that we want to produce retreats that people love. And the only way that we can do that is to get that feedback. But also, of course, connecting with your new friends on social media, cheer them on, follow up with them, and then just you really, I can't say this as much. Can't say this enough. Is just making sure that you take time every day to work on your writing. Use that momentum that you've gained on a retreat to push yourself forward to whatever the next step is for your work.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Oh, sorry. I got distracted by
That's okay.
somebody was chatting. I got the chat thing and got a little distracted. Oh, okay. So I'm back. um, so okay. So I like this. You're telling people that you're gonna people who have attended are going to get a special discount. So we've got the link down at the bottom, so you can see it just popped up. That if you go to that information page, you can find out more, and then you can copy paste that, um, and Jordan has also put it in the chat box. So you have the link, and you can use that to get off registration.
Just
So
a quick note about that,
yeah.
if you don't mind.
Oh
So
yeah, no, no.
first, first of all, I just want to clarify: we have a sort of a two-stage registration process. We actually have an application
Okay.
first. We request that people apply first because we have not yet refused anybody to come, but we have waitlisted people who we feel are perhaps not quite ready yet for a writing retreat, meaning that maybe that it's possible their work isn't there, or there's something in their application that tells us that maybe they're not fully engaged or fully prepared to engage a writing retreat. So we do ask people to apply first. Once the application is accepted, that's when they actually go and register, and that's when they would use the Elixir Friends CS. I can't speak today. Elixir Friends CS discount.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Well, Daniel, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share the
Thanks for
Elixir
having
retreat
me.
with us. Yeah.
This is exciting.
We appreciate you being here. So tell us where people can find out more about Elixir Writing Retreats. Where are you at online?
So elixirwritingretreats.com is our website. Elixir Retreats is our handle on Instagram and Twitter, mostly the social networks that we participate in. We do have a Facebook page, but we don't really use very often.
Okay.
Don't maintain it.
Yeah,
as
it's
much
hard.
as we would like to.
Right, you can always do so much, and
Yeah.
I find that Instagram is a good place to hang out. Well, thank you to everyone who's watching, either in person or on the replay. We really appreciate you supporting the Writing Retreat Sampler and Elixir Writing Retreats. So now we will move to the Q&A part of the event. So I'll stop presenting. Okay, did I stop presenting? Stop presenting. Sorry.
We have Jordan's question up.
Okay, excellent. So what do we have? You mentioned some applicants not being ready. How can I best prepare? Oh, to be ready for a retreat like yours. That's you.
A really good question. That's a really good question. I think, well, first of all, the application requires you to submit a writing sample. So you should have a writing sample available of something. It doesn't have to be necessarily what you're planning on working on during the retreat. Some people already have a work in progress that they're working on that they want to devote the time to. Other people, they want to use that as an opportunity to do something new, and that whatever your case is, that's fine. But we do want to see something that says that you are serious about your craft, basically.
Okay. Right. You don't want to get there and not, just kind of be floundering. You be able to have something ahead of time, or to know like the direction, or to be ready to write. You don't want to just end up there and not really know what you're doing. Okay. So I think we had another question. Okay, we're going to bring somebody onto the stage to ask a question. Brenda, do you mind if we bring you onto the stage? Well, I'll invite you. Oh, Shakti sent the invite. Okay. So Airmeet's kind of a new platform, and I'm trying to figure out like all how to do all the fancy features here. So I'll just ask a question. So have you ever had a singer-songwriter retreat? So I'm not sure if this is directed, have we had a singer-songwriter retreat featured on the sampler, or if you're asking if one of us has created that retreat. I just a little more information on that. But I would say I have not seen a singer-songwriter retreat. Oh,
there she is.
Oh, it worked. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about your question.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello, hi. I write with my husband, and we've been on a few singer-songwriter retreats in this country. But it just might be interesting to go somewhere else to do this. And I just wondered if you'd done it before, and whether you have any advice for songs and getting them out there. Is it the same as a book? Because we've got a lot of songs, but we haven't actually produced a CD or a book with lyrics in yet, and would really like to do that.
Oh,
well, I haven't produced any retreats like this for singer-songwriters. I think it's a really cool idea. It'd be really fun to do. Just get a bunch of musicians together and in a castle, or somewhere it's out in the country, and just have like a big weekend long jam session or something, and discussions as well about the craft and how to do that. As far as publishing music goes, honestly, that's a little bit beyond my expertise.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I can't really help you much there. I mean, there are a lot of self-publishing platforms like SoundCloud, and I think you can even get a Spotify account as a musician, and put your recordings up there as well. But in terms of like getting a professional manager or something like that, sorry, that's beyond my expertise.
Yeah, and Brenda, I will look too. I'll search and see like through my network and stuff if somebody knows about a singer-songwriter kind of retreat, or if if anything I can find out about that, and I will definitely let you know.
Okay, thank you. That's brilliant.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Nice to talk to you both.
Oh, you
Nice to
too.
talk to you
You
too.
too. Thanks for coming. Okay, do we have any other questions? No. Okay, well, I think that wraps it up then. Again, I just, I can't thank people enough. This is new for me too. This is only my second event. So, it's all a learning process, and I appreciate you being here while I figure it all out. And the best thing is this will be on the YouTube channel. This will be on the website. So, and it will still be a replay available in here in AirMeet. So this isn't the last of it. People will definitely get to hear and see us talking about this. So what I'll do now is I will stop this session and I'll start the sponsor session. Now, I know there's not a lot of people here watching live, but the sponsor, like I said, is the Writing Retreat Directory, which I just launched that as well. So I'm still in beta testing and looking for Writing Retreat hosts to try it out for free. So I'll be at my booth in just a few minutes. And if anyone's interested in learning more about it, you can join me at the table to chat.